Does everybody know everybody? Charles, you and Chris, you know, Interim Chief Todd Spalding of the Fire Department, our Chief HR guy, Greg Ashworth, our wonderful, talented, beautiful police chief, Ms. Kim Cressick, Gary Little, our city clerk, and the lady that actually runs the city office, Lisa Burdett. I figured you might have took your day off today. And this is Charles and Lisa Spinacle. They're on the agenda with the Bardstown Pedal Company here. So, if you had a chance to look through the minutes that we had 6 months ago, when we had our last meeting, I don't think there's any. There was a little mention about the pedal bike bar then, but we didn't go into a lot of detail about it. But if there's no additions or corrections or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our March 24th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Chief Cressick. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ashworth. No further discussion, all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, all opposed. Motion carried. Okay, we've got the Bardstown Pedal Company, LLC here, that's with us tonight. And we have some information about these pedal bars, but we'd like to hear what you got to present to the administration here to plead your case why we think we should have this the Bardstown Pedal Company. I'll just leave it that with your presentation where you think it's important, and we've got some little information along with some KRS statutes that we don't have a statute as such here in Bardstown now. We've got a copy of the one that's like Louisville has, and some of the other companies or cities that have these. You probably got a copy of that in there, but you all got the floor.
Okay, so I'm Chrissy Spanknable. This is my husband Charles. We are wanting to bring Bardstown Pedal Company to Bardstown. It is a 10 pedaling seat passenger bicycle with 2 bench seats that can accommodate roughly about 4 people. So you're looking at a total of 14 passengers, 1 driver. It is a pedal bike. However, the driver has access to a battery pack, brake, gas for the battery, and so, or a gas pedal. We're wanting to, during the day, Bardstown, there's a lot of people that come to Bardstown that don't necessarily come for bourbon. And so during the day, we would like to offer historical tours of downtown, the homes, just the downtown district. Partner with some of the businesses downtown to offer like anything that they want to offer, percentage off of a meal or percentage off their purchase or, whatever, to keep the people downtown. Then during the evening, we would like to do the pub crawl. So we don't want to be labeled as just a pedal pub like all of these are in the U.S. Every one of them are just that. They don't do anything other than bars, but we don't want to. But we do want to do the pub in the evenings where people would pedal. For most of those in the U.S., they are allowed to bring, it's a BYOB, bring your own beer. They are allowed so many ounces of beer or wine, no hard liquor. And they bring that on, no glass, it's all plastic containers. The driver is responsible for making sure that everybody stays on the bike, that they aren't intoxicated, and we would like to go around to all the different, bars and pubs in downtown. And then on Sundays, we would like to do like a family day. Bardstown doesn't have a whole lot to offer people, and so here in the community, so we would like to do like a family day where people would get on the bike and we could pedal to Baskin Robbins, get some ice cream, and then maybe do a scavenger hunt, pedal around downtown doing a scavenger hunt, or go to one of the local city parks. So that's basically what we're wanting to do. That's what we're.
And talking to you previously, Chrissy, I know this is a major investment that you're
Yes.
talking about. Several $1,000s, and and I've been doing some canvassing the city and area, and also looking at some videos, and also doing some homework on the pedal bars and stuff. And the majority of these are in big cities, and there's been some positive feedback from it, but there's been some negative feedback from it too. And in our area, some of the feedback, more so than not, the feedback I've been getting is because our downtown is not so big to where we won't infringe in the residential sections. Because if you go 2 blocks north, east, south, or west of the courthouse, you're in somebody's neighborhood residential area. And some of the feedback I've got a couple of these videos up here that Gary's going to show you here. This is what so many people have been seeing and hearing and have been in my ear about. So I'm gonna let you listen, and so you'll see why we haven't pushed. Oh, I like. Well, we don't play.
Yeah, we're sitting through the golf ahead first.
You did that on purpose, Gary.
Yeah. It does look like fun, man.
Well, have you seen these around town? There's a new trend of seeing the sights here in downtown Indianapolis by boozing and biking.
It is essentially a bar on wheels, but not everyone is enjoying the party. Our City View reporter Mary Mills has a look at the beef with the so-called pedal cups.
Well, it's not necessarily the what they object to, but the where. Fletcher Place right here gets a fair amount of traffic, but it's typically a fairly quiet neighborhood. Some, though, have grown increasingly frustrated with what they call the party on wheels. One of the pedal pub companies is based just a few blocks away, and its route to and from downtown goes right by the neighborhood, and not just once a day, but several times a day.
So you might guess that noise becomes a factor, especially as the rides get later in the evening, sometimes as late as 10 o'clock. People have trouble sleeping, they hear it over their TVs even, so it gets really loud when 15, 16 people, especially on the return trip, after having a good time, noise control.
But what I do hear is music coming down the street, and I hear mostly coming down Virginia, but I mean, they could be here, and I can hear it all the way from my house 600 feet away.
And Councilor Jeff Miller says, looking into pedal pubs, he was surprised to hear they are not regulated. There is no city ordinance governing them. He thinks that might have to change. We'll have much more on that tonight at 6. Andrea?
Okay, that was the first one. Councilman, do you want to play another one?
Play them all.
Okay. This one I don't believe has any sound.
It does on mine.
Yeah, I think this was the video from just one of their street cams and not an actual story video, but there is another story video that we have.
injured. WGCL says the mobile bar tipped over while making a turn. Allegedly, the driver was going way too fast, causing the vehicle to turn over. The scary incident left 15 injured. They were all taken to a local hospital. 3 were seriously injured and 2 others are in critical condition.
This is a unique challenge. Simply because it's a multi-casualty incident, this is not an everyday call. Although we do train and prepare for these types of calls. This is the first incident that I've been on involving one of the mobile pub cars.
The pedal pub driver, James Anthony Johnson, was arrested and charged with the DUI. He was also charged with a business permit violation. Thankfully, no other vehicles were involved in the accident. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Do you have one on there with the 2 guys that actually started the one in Detroit?
Maybe. Down there.
The two gentlemen that started, they got 4 of them now.
Could be that right there.
Look at this thing. It's a giant 16-passenger bike bar. It's great team building activity. We're kind of hooting and hollering, listening to music.
I do think that it would change the experience to be able to bring the drinks on board. They might actually get a little bit more customers and be even a bigger business down here.
Pubs or quadricycles are becoming the rage across the country. You can find them in some 90 cities, and now in Detroit.
It's a blast. It's a blast. It truly is.
They are mobile bar stations that look like motorized vehicles, but are really powered by people, pedaling in groups.
It was a workout, that first 15 minutes, getting used to it. It was a lot of fun. We were listening to music, laughing, taking lots of pictures. It was great.
Pedal pubs entered Detroit after Michigan passed a law in 2015 authorizing their operation. Handlebar was the first company to enter the Detroit market. It's owned by 2 brothers, mechanical engineers who wanted to start a business outside of their day jobs and tried their luck with pedal pubs in another city, Indianapolis.
Oh, it's been great. We've been operating for 4 years in Indianapolis, grown year on year. And, we've become the #1 attraction at TripAdvisor in Indianapolis.
The pedal pubs operate from morning until night. Groups lease them for several hours, and the pedal pub companies provide someone who steers, brakes, and looks over the group. The owner of the Town Pub Tavern was skeptical at first, but says the pubs have been great for his business.
Roll through all day long. They bring happy, fun customers. They stay for a few minutes, have a couple of drinks, maybe have something to eat, and then they move along and the next one comes through. So
there is one bump in the road for pedal pubs. Michigan cities can prohibit drinking alcohol in open public places, even if those ordinances were written years before pedal pubs was a concept. At this moment, the city of Detroit was struggling with the issue for more than 1 year.
The city, it's such a unique concept. I mean, look at this thing. It's a giant 16-passenger bike bar. So they weren't really sure how to categorize it. And we're working with them right now to sort of draft an ordinance that mimics the state law, so it's very clear what this is. And then the city can have their, kind of comfort level of what we're allowed to do.
Pedal pub customers like to bring their own alcohol, usually beer and wine. Even the owner of a pub doesn't see the harm.
I don't really see the difference between this and, say, like a limousine. Apparently, you're allowed to drink in a limousine. This is not a limousine because you're pedaling.
But not everyone agrees, including a pedal pub customer.
It think it's a safe policy. And I mean, they stop at enough pubs, so honestly, you don't really have to drink on board.
Pedal pub companies point out their insurance companies require them to keep strict safety standards.
I mean, I won't lie, sometimes you get some people that have a little bit too much fun, but that's where, you know, the experience of our drivers comes in, and we make sure people are always staying safe and always having a good time, and we haven't really had any issues to date.
Pedal pub supporters say the concept is an excellent way to bring non-residents into the city.
But Detroit is kind of one of those places that a lot of people have left. That's kind of the perception. There's not a lot going on per se in Detroit right now, even though that's not necessarily true, I feel like from my experience.
There are now 3 companies operating pedal pubs in Detroit. Handlebar hopes to add to its fleet.
We're up to 4 now, and I don't know, I think we might have more next year. It's been great. You know, I think not just people that are downtown Detroit, but people in the suburbs, everyone's kind of rooting for Detroit. You know, so when they come down and they take a tour, everyone loves to see what's going on downtown.
And how open cities are to new ways to prosper.
So what we've been dealing with is the plus and minuses of pedal bar. But you can see every one of these, all these ones that are located around, they're in bigger metropolitan areas. And the feedback that I've been getting is from the residents, because like I say, 2 blocks either direction of the courthouse, you're gonna be right smack in the middle of the residential district, residential areas. And that's the negative feedback that I've been getting from it. And the reason we've been kind of reluctant to work on an ordinance on that. Chief Cressy, she's been doing a little homework on this too. She may have a little bit more to speak on these bars, and pedal bars and stuff.
But again, one of the biggest things that we, through the research that I saw was the noise complaint. And even if you're going down 3rd Street, which is a state highway, there's residential housing above most of the businesses downtown. And what you see in the bigger cities, I'm familiar with the one that operates in Jefferson County in Louisville, but it's mainly a business district. There are a lot of establishments for them to go to, where here, there's not that many establishments that you would even go to. You might hit, 2 or 3 things and that would kind of wrap it up, but you would have to get, I'm not sure what your route is planned, and I'm sure you'll talk about the route that you have planned.
Yes.
But one of the concerns that I would have for the participants that were on the pedal bar along with your driver is if you're on 3rd Street and anytime you're driving down 3rd Street, you see, because it's the state highway, that's the route that the semis have to travel, the dump trucks have to travel. And so if there's ever, and there's not a lot of space, right, for cars to be able to maneuver around a pedal bar, if they stopped right there on 3rd Street, it would block that roadway. But the dangers of that until like maybe in the future when the bypass that's talked about, and then the trucks go outside of the city on the bypass would make that area a little bit safer. But with that being the main thoroughfare right now for the larger trucks, that would be a huge concern just for safety wise.
Right. It's never our intention to stop on 3rd Street to pick up or drop off. Our pickup spot would be what tentatively, unless told differently, would be the farmer's market. That's a public parking there. People can park, they can load and unload right there, from the side of the street on East Flagey. Then when it comes to noise, in the housing area, we wouldn't have there wouldn't be any noise. During the day, when we would be in that part of town, like where the historical homes and things are, that would be a historical tour, so there wouldn't be music playing. Whoever's driving would be on the microphone talking, telling them what to look for, what is significant, that kind of stuff. The noise from the people, that was one thing on the waiver that I submitted. It was a sample waiver, All of these have waivers that people have to sign before they can ride. And so when they sign this waiver, they agree that they are going to act in a certain way, or they will be forced to get off the trolley. So that's one way to handle noise and unruly riders. Another thing is if it's music in the evening, that's controlled by the driver. It's just like a radio. So if they're told not to have that up high, then they wouldn't. Or, Charles and I, we plan on, if this is approved, until all the kinks and everything are worked out, and we're talking a few months, we will be the drivers. We won't hire anybody else. It will just be us. But when it comes time that we do get to hire somebody, most of these companies, they do background checks on their riders, and they have to be a certain age. Most of them have to be 21. I would prefer 25. I think that people are maybe a little bit more mature at that age. But on the Atlanta one that you showed, that was a wreck. The driver was drunk. So that was at the fault of the driver, not the people. And ours, it flipped. Charles, I'm gonna let you talk about this part here, about the actual trolley itself.
Oh, well, the difference between our trolley and their trolley is ours is built with a better chassis. It's the stance of it is wider on the frame. It's actually like almost the stance of a actual automobile, so it'd almost be impossible to turn this thing over. Plus, our pedal trolley, it's set at a max speed of 5 miles an hour to where it cannot go over that, and it's all the driver can control the speed and how fast he accelerates and how fast he doesn't, because the patrons don't even have to pedal if they don't want to. This can strictly just be them sitting on their riding, but the point of them is to pedal just for the experience.
I have some pictures. This is actually of the one in downtown Louisville. As you see, and I don't care to give these to you all, I made a couple sets. They have no brake lights. None. They have the triangle there on the back to show, to reflect. Ours actually has brake lights.
Turn signals,
tail lights.
low beam, high beam.
If you look at these, there was those on the TV that they were showing, they didn't have any backs to the seat at all. The ones in Louisville, they do, but it's just a little bitty metal piece. Ours are actually, if I can find them.
They have backs, we have
Yes, they
seat
have-
belts.
Here we go. Yes, there's that if you want to take them and show them. And then here's a picture of the pedals, and this one has the actual seat belts in it. I'll give this one to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And here's the one in Louisville. They do not have brake lights. They have very small seats.
Could you touch on the route that you would plan to use?
Yes. So pickup and drop off would be at the farmer's market. We would not, we wouldn't be going past on North 3rd Street. We wouldn't be going out past, do I have a map? I think it's Bill or Brashear, right through there. And then back through here, probably no further than Payne Street. I don't think there's anything past that way.
So you don't have a planned route?
I didn't know what was gonna.
So you're gonna get on 150 up to Payne Street, or down, you're gonna go around the courthouse, down
Around
South 3rd Street to Payne Street.
down South 3rd Street, and then to 5th Street, 4th Street, and then Flagey, or not Flagey, what's the one that, Brashear, is that the one at the red light there at?
It's Bill.
Okay, just through those areas. In my binder that I turned in, I included the historical walking tour map that they give tourists on the back. And so it's the historical walking tour, and that's where the area that I was wanting to go. It's not I don't want to go down East Flagey out that way. We can't come up that big hill. We just want to stay strictly in a condensed area.
So that's pretty much a residential area. Is that the same route for the evening tours too?
No, the evening tour, we would just stay, pretty much go down North 3rd Street, come around the courthouse. If anybody wants to get off, like, I had talked to a couple of the different business owners in town, and some of them had said that they would be interested in possibly partnering with us, like offering a special drink or something that they would stay in the establishment, not on our pedal trolley. So we would drop off there on the bricks beside the Welcome Center to the crosswalk that's there to go to either the Talbot Tavern or to Mammy's. And then we could come up on West Flagey to the city parking lot there for them to go to Mammy's or to Scout and Scholar. And so just kind of a big square, not very far at all, for the evening tour.
Just the last two things I have, Councilman, is like we couldn't have open containers. That's against the law to have open containers of alcohol. So we couldn't be out moving with that and things like that. But then and I know you said that your participants would be quiet, but as you see, like in all the cities that have these, they may have a lower voice at the beginning, but once you start flowing with alcohol, things like that, the voices, and that's where the noise complaints come from. And so would be my concern, is the noise complaints that you would get from the residents on 3rd Street, because we already get a lot of those from some of the local establishments that are on 3rd Street, right, from the noise there. And so that would be my concern, Councilman, is the noise issues. And then that safety on 3rd Street, because you're going to have that, it's a state highway, and going 5 miles an hour, and then, the trucks coming through could be dangerous.
Well, 5 miles an hour would be dangerous with the regular passenger cars. And, people, they're not, Jonesy goes more than 5 miles an hour. I get tons of complaints about him.
Well, these actually, I think the maximum speed, I don't know exactly for ours. I know that I think it can be adjusted, but I believe it is I've got it in one of these papers here, it is 15 miles an hour, but it's not much faster. I actually have a video on my phone of us on one. The place that we're building ours off of is not a big city at all. It's Tiffin, Ohio. They are super, super small. They have one. And so the one that we're building ours off of, that's there, and they haven't had any issues as of the last time that we spoke to them. But I know that I guess it was the fire chief in the video, he said that, not every day does he get a call on those. And he said that was the first call he had. And in USA Today, this is over that particular wreck there in Atlanta. They've got Nashville, Tennessee people quoted saying that they have a safe track record when they have over 2 million riders a year. They have right at 24, which I know that Nashville's a lot bigger than Bardstown, but that's quite a few of those to have a pretty safe record. There was only 3 incidences that resulted in serious injury in Atlanta, and that's counting the one that you saw. So that's the only ones that they could report, and that's in 15 years with over 5 million riders. So, and like I said, I think that a lot of people focus on it being a bar, and that's not what that's why we didn't name it Bourbon, something like every other name around here. We want to do other things. We want to do things during the day to, show Bardstown off.
Team building.
Yeah, team building. You can rent it to build a team building with your coworkers. Go on a scavenger hunt. It has drink holders and a kind of like a little area where you could put something to eat, like a small lunch or some sort. So it's far more than that.
Did you all get a chance to look at some of the sample city ordinances that were in this?
Yes, I actually had included those in that binder, so I already had them. But yes, I looked at some of those, and I actually brought another one with me. It was Frankfort. Frankfort's not big at all. Frankfort, Kentucky, and I brought their ordinance for it. So,
Do you have a proposed schedule, like what time you would start and end each day?
well, right now, until we would get all the kinks worked out, which is gonna take several months.
Sure.
It's just gonna be Charles and I that would be the one operating it. So we are looking at, Friday and Saturday night, Sunday all day, Monday all day. And that really is, I think, beneficial for Bardstown because Sunday and Monday, there is not a lot for people to do here. And so that would give, and when I say Sunday and Monday, I'm talking the historic part. Most people are not here to drink on a Sunday and Monday. So I'm talking family things on Sundays, touristy, historical tours on Mondays. So I hadn't really thought of a time, but I did look at some of the other places. Most of them start around 10, and I think they wrap up around 10 because most excursions are 2 hours. Counting your boarding time, 30 minutes boarding and about 15 minutes to get on, 15 minutes to get off, so a total of 30 minutes. And then about an hour and a half for you to do everything. So, and like I said, I've talked to several business owners in town, and they are excited about this. I've got emails from different business owners on Bardstown Main Street that they're excited for it, not just to partake and be a rider, but to also partner with us. I want people to go downtown, we'll put a wristband on them and give them a little rack card and say, you can go in here and get 5% off of your purchase, or go into this one and get a free slushie, or something to keep them downtown. And there's not a whole lot to do downtown on Monday, so I think that would be great for everybody.
And did you say that you were going to have them available for special events, like a birthday party for
Yes.
kids or something?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it is available to rent out by a 2-hour session, or and that's for birthday parties, that's for team building, retirement parties. I actually have a picture of the one in Tiffin, Ohio, the one that is a small town like Bardstown, and it's a ladies' retirement party. I didn't know this lady personally, but they gave me this picture, and the guys from Tiffin said that they are more than welcome to do a Zoom meeting to talk about how it operates in their town since it's small. But this is people on it for a retirement party.
But I guess if you were going to if you're going to have an age limit or minimum age of 21.
So that would be during when there are, like, say, from 6 o'clock on Friday and Saturday night. That would be mainly what that is. But during the daytime, it wouldn't have that because there wouldn't be any drinking. So.
But like Chief said, we have an open container law.
Well, that's something I wanted to clarify. I didn't understand because the state of Kentucky changed the law. So is that a city law? Is that a city ordinance of the open container? Because Kentucky State changed their laws to where people could include these.
Have you reached out to, I guess, is it Jennifer that runs the liquor license, ABC license? Have you reached out to her? She'll have the most updated things that would be available for here in the city.
Right, because in order to have alcohol, we would have to have an APC license.
Right, and you would get that through the city.
And so we knew that we would have to get that. I had included that in the binder.
Yes, I didn't know if you'd reached out to her yet.
I hadn't tried to get a license for anything because I didn't want to go.
An ordinance for it,
and see.
Right, and there's not an ordinance here in the city. That's something else that would have to be created. There's an ordinance, like Louisville, I don't know if you have a copy of the ordinance Louisville.
I do.
Okay, so then that would be something that the council would have to, and the city would have to work on, would be an ordinance here.
Now, you mentioned again about the excluding the alcohol, the age limit that you have with that was another safety issue that I thought about. If you have young kids on this thing going through town, if they're getting on, getting off, you mentioned the family atmosphere that you want to promote. But if you had a bunch of 10-year-olds that wanted to be on a birthday party, and the parents wanted to rent their this vehicle, this operation out to them, would that be an issue, you think, Chief?
Again, you know, if you have them stopping if you're stopping at the businesses downtown on 3rd Street, you're gonna have to stop to let them off and to let them back on, and that's gonna be, you know, it's definitely gonna cause some traffic backups. That road, if you travel 3rd Street any time of the day, afternoon or evening, I mean, 3rd Street is a very busy roadway. It's the main road through town.
Not only 3rd Street, east and west, Stephen Foster.
Oh,
also.
yes, yeah.
Because the rock quarry is on the other side of town.
Right. Well, I do know that motor coaches pull in there and let people off. Many people. So I don't think that letting, you know, 10 to 14 people off would be that of 30 or 40 on a motor coach that comes in a few times a week.
So are you saying that if people wanted to stop downtown, you wouldn't stop in front of the store, you would still pull to the brick pavement at the visitor center?
Right, and let them.
That's where all loading and unloading would be?
All to.
The initial?
Yes, and over on West Flagey at the city parking lot there and the city parking lot there at Mammy's.
Yeah.
Right through there, and then.
But you wouldn't stop, let's say you had a group and they wanted to go to Aunt Mary's, you wouldn't stop in front of Aunt Mary's on North 3rd Street and let them off?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not safe for one thing,
Right.
and it would stop traffic.
Yeah.
So.
Todd, you got any questions about something like this?
No, sir.
Greg?
The only issue that I have is the traffic. As we know, we get a lot of complaints on traffic in the city of Bardstown. We don't have, if you watch those videos, every one of them, there were multi-lanes, and you could see them pull over to one of those multi-lanes and the traffic goes around. Traffic cannot go around you downtown. The streets are very narrow. Parking is at a premium. There's never a I live downtown, so there's never a parking spot to be had. So it's not like you can pull over or get out of, or even move out of the way and let traffic go around you downtown, or even on the side streets, flash A's. So that would be my own concern, Mayor Shekels, is that, you know, going 5 miles an hour and traffic backed up all the way to 245 is going to cause complaints for the city and issues for the city, as well as that commercial traffic. Those semi trucks and those dump trucks and that commercial traffic downtown, we just had a yield sign taken out around the courthouse today. They go very fast, they do not slow down, and I would hate to see your pedal bar get ran over just because, you know, somebody's not paying attention. But that's the only issue that I have.
Well, I don't think that it would be any different than, you know, the around the town carriage or the pedal cab. I think that was approved just a year ago.
No, the difference is the alcohol that's involved.
Right.
You would have to get the authorized public consumption license is what you would look for, but then they still can't take it from like an establishment to yours. It would have,
Right,
then
yes.
it has to be no glass and
Yes.
things like that. So that's the one you would look for.
And Jonesy has a very specific route that he is restricted to. He has to go a specific route, and if you guys get approved, I would imagine the council would ask the same thing.
Most
So when you start talking about scavenger hunts and all this other, you know, you would be restricted to a specific route, just like Jonesy.
Yes, that's what we had planned on to begin with, was a specific route. And the scavenger hunts, that I wanted to clarify, that would not involve anybody getting off of that pedal trolley. It would be, you know, a certain house number or something, you know, something that has to do with the historical tour, something that people could see. You know, and that was actually Dixie's idea. She had brought that up to me and offered to do that.
I assume, and I don't think it'd be a problem, but I assume because the visitor center, that brick area, that all belongs to the county, that you probably need to get the county's approval to stop there.
Yes.
Don't you all think so?
Anybody else? Did Betty, do you have any other questions or comments or anything that we need to? I think the consensus was we wanted to hear what you all's ideas and plans were before we went any further with possibly looking at ordinances or what we could do with an ordinance wise. But like I said, this is from the numbers that you're up to, but this is a major investment.
Right.
Of course, it's not to me or the council to tell you what kind of return you should get for your investment, because that's your thing. It's not our.
We haven't ordered it yet. The quote that they gave us was only good for 60 days. So that was back in April. So that's gonna be a whole lot higher. They gave us a quote of 60-some thousand then, and that's why ours is so much more expensive. The ones that you all see on TV and the ones, you know, from Louisville and Atlanta and all that, those are made by a company. I believe it's called Pedal Pub. They're very inexpensive. I think they're around 30, 40,000. That's why ours is double, because it is safe. It has seatbelts. Those other ones do not. It does have a back on there.
Yeah,
like I
the
said,
company that built ours initially had one almost identical to theirs. And the guy that started their company in Tiffin, he hated everything about it after he initially bought it. So he found an engineering and a manufacturing firm right there in Tiffin, and he worked with them and revamped that one. And then they progressively got better to where now they have what they have today, which is what they offer to people. They're selling as far as people in Alaska, and they have people in South Carolina buying them. And last I spoke to somebody in Arkansas just bought one, and he said that they're getting calls every day. It's just people have to get their finances together for them, because theirs is quite a bit more expensive than your typical one that you see running all over the rest of the states and cities.
Yeah. Those are about people drinking. There's not another one that is wanting to offer what we offer, because we don't want to be labeled as a bar. That's not what we are. We're not a pub. We're not anything like that. We're wanting to do so much more than just that. And I think that it would be great for Bardstown. There's an issue with people staying here in town. People don't want to stay in Bardstown because there's nothing to do after 5 o'clock. And this gives people something to do. It gives them something to do on Sundays. It gives them something to do on Mondays, and that will bring tax dollars into the hotels and things. So I just think that it would be a great addition to the attractions that we have here.
I think, if we can work out all the details and the safety issues and the routes and all that, I applaud you, because I think it would be a nice thing for tourists and our locals, just something kind of different to do, but I think we've got some details to work out.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot, I'm sure, but I've had a lot of positive feedback, especially from downtown Main Street, that are excited not just to ride it, like I said, but to also possibly partner with us and bring people in, so.
I respectfully disagree with you about people wanting to stay in Bardstown. If you talk to our hotels and Airbnbs, they all have very high occupancy rates.
Well, it seems like we have a lot of people come in that say that they're always staying either in Louisville or Lexington. And
but
that's
you're right about Sundays and Mondays. There's not a lot to do around town on Sundays and Mondays.
Right.
All right. Well, I appreciate y'all coming in.
Yes, thank you all very much.
And give us a upfront view of what we're talking about.
So what's the next step in this process?
Well, probably the next step of this process will be we'll get together with our committee members and we'll put together some kind of talk about the issues that you all just talk about the issues that we had, and along with the presentation that you all have, and see if we can come to some kind of consensus on what would be the perfect way to do that, whether it be routes, safety, alcohol, the whole works, and bring it before the council.
All right.
Probably need to consult Audrey, city attorney, maybe.
Yeah, she'll be in the mix too.
Okay.
So, but anyway, we wanted to hear what you all had. We
Yes.
wanted to hear your presentation, so
Yes.
so we can get together and move forward on this.
Okay. Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
Do you all have a time frame?
It takes 3 months to build that. And so you know, when I turned it in at the end of April, we were hoping to maybe have it something in time for the Bourbon Fest and the Christmas parade. So maybe, hopefully something before, you know, the spring rolls around, that way get the idea that people know that we're here and want to do something.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Chief Spalding, got a little fire department updates. You want to bring some issues before us?
You know, the Bardstown Fire Department, we continue our quest to increase capabilities to protect the bourbon capital of the world. Currently, we have a foam tender that carries 1,500 gallons of foam. We're still working on getting that filled up. It holds about 2,500 gallons of foam. So we're working on getting that filled up. Our new apparatus has a 100-gallon foam cell on it that can discharge foam through every discharge. So we can pretty much make any other apparatus foam capable. So it really increases our capabilities of producing foam, which is what we need for flammable liquids fires. That apparatus, it responds on target hazards. So that's pretty much any distillery, Takagawa, Fujisil, and Relodyne. So all of those carry very highly flammable liquids. So we try to respond that onto any of those calls. Now it is a 1993 apparatus, so at some point it may be difficult to start to find parts for that. We may have to look at maybe buying something used or something like that, or maybe getting something new to.
Didn't you convert a
upgrade
tanker?
that.
Didn't you convert a tanker or something for this?
Yes, that was it. We originally was a water tender, and so we didn't really need water tender in the city due to our hydrant saturation. So we converted that over to a foam tender and made some modifications to the tanker itself to be able to do that, to have those foam capabilities. Which, you know, it's not just about the fixed facilities that we have to deal with. There's numerous trucks and trailers and also rail cars that come through Bardstown that's transporting the ethanol and all that every day. So, we have to worry about, an overturned tanker truck or a tanker truck leaking and stuff like that. So it's a very important piece to our operation in Bardstown. Any questions about that? Our other thing is the active shooter preparedness. We have brought our department up to be able to respond to an active shooter hostile event. That included us purchasing some PPE, which includes ballistic vests and helmets. Then we also put together some trauma kits on our first out apparatus. Those are mostly for those active shooter events. They hold like 12 stop the bleed kits and tourniquets so that we can better treat those trauma victims. I've worked with Chief Kresick. We really didn't have an SOG in place about what is our response and how do we respond to those types of events. What's the fire department's role? So we worked with Chief Kresick and her staff on, what is fire department's role when we get there? Are we going to go in with police? Are we going to wait till the building's cleared? Or how are we going to respond to that? So now we do have an SOG in place to what our role is going to be, so that hopefully when this event, if it ever happens, that we're better prepared to and organized on how we will respond to those type of events.
What's an SOG? I was going to say acronyms you use.
What's that?
Everybody might not know.
What's an SOG?
Oh, SOG, sorry, Standard Operating Guideline. Yeah, sorry.
And they wouldn't be going in during, if it was, we would call it like a red zone, if there's still shots being fired, and those situations are fluid anyhow. But if we got to the problem where they're searching and they don't hear gunshots and they don't believe that it's still active, but we would want to get treatment to anyone that's injured and could securely get them into a portion of the location to start treating victims. That's what, we would want to get that treatment as soon as possible, but also safely, because we wouldn't want to bring them into a situation that would become dangerous for them at the same time.
So y'all been working together on this?
We've been working with the fire department and the sheriff's department, doing training.
That's great. It's sad that we need it, but
Yeah.
we know we did.
Did you all put the numbers on the school buildings over here, like in Bardstown?
The fast pass.
The numbers on all the windows and doors so everybody knows where.
We don't do that, but the school does, but yeah, it's very beneficial for us making an entry or going through there to know which hallways are cleared, because it gives those designations, and it's helped us now, even just on medical calls, that that the school can say, hey, come to door 17, and our people know which door 17 is by the maps they have in the truck. So.
Do all the schools have that?
Most of them, I think the middle school, the new elementary school is still working on getting that implemented.
And all the other schools.
That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. To go along with that, and this kind of all runs together, but we take on a lot as the fire department. We take on fire, EMS, we do trench rescue, swift water rescue, rope rescue, confined space, hazardous materials response, and active shooter now, and we're also looking at the rock quarry as it's filling up with water that that becomes a potential hazard for the community. So we're looking at dive rescue because the lake is surrounded by neighborhoods on both sides. Eventually, when Kentucky Owl gets going, it's going to be open to the public. So 245 runs right through the center corridor. It's easy for a vehicle to go off into the quarry lake there. So we're looking at that. But we have a lot of stuff on our plate, and we train on all that, but we do okay in all of it. I want us to be really proficient in every discipline. And so one of the disciplines that we do is trench rescue, which is not, I've been here for 20 years and we've never had an incident where we've had to utilize that discipline. And so it's something that we may look at that say, hey, this is a discipline we don't use, that because it takes a 40-hour class to get an employee up to that standard. And then we have to have recert hours every year on doing that. So on the fire side, we do 100 hours in fire, then we got to do 24 hours in EMT training, and then another 8 in hazmat, and then 4 in confined space, 4 in rope, and it just goes, it becomes a lot on top of all of our other duties. So trench seems to be one that we may, be able to get away from, so that we can become more proficient in our other disciplines. Which rope rescue we pretty much have to have. It's the base for all the other rescues. Swift water, we usually have a couple calls for that every year due to the flooding. Confined space, most of our industry, especially the bourbon industry, they go in and clean their vats and wells, and if they're doing those confined space entries, they have to have an emergency team on standby for in case something goes wrong. So we need to continue that as well, so that they can continue on with their confined space entries. Hazardous materials, it takes a lot of people to do a hazmat incident. We're a staff of 6, so it's really hard for us to do a hazardous materials technician level entry. What that means is we have to don special level A. I know I'm talking a lot of technical terms here, and I apologize, but we have to don special gear in order to go into those types of environments that our regular firefighting gear can't provide. And that usually only has a shelf life of about 10 years, and it costs about $80,000 each time we replace that equipment. So, being that we're limited on staffing, that we may only just do operations level on hazardous materials, and we could still do a line of sight rescue if we see somebody who's down in maybe a dangerous environment, that if we don the proper equipment with our firefighting gear and SCBA, the proper test strips and testing equipment, we can go, as far as we can possibly go. Just like we had that anhydrous ammonia leak. The main threat of that is respiratory. So if we saw somebody down, that rescuer can say, hey, I see them. I know that I could be going in a potentially dangerous environment, but my respiratory is protected, and they can make that call. But on something like, are we going to go in and mitigate that spill? Are we going to stop that spill? I think that's something that we will get away from as long as the public is protected. And that would be our job, is to set up those isolation distances, and maybe if we have to have people evacuate, help evacuate. But we would call in somebody like the 41st who came in on the last call to help mitigate that scene. And because they train in it every day, they have all the specialized equipment, and they're going to bring enough people to do that. So that's kind of where we are with that, and trying to just make sure that we're going to be proficient in everything that we're doing, and not just be okay in it. So kind of picking our poisons, but that's pretty much
the training center out there on Southern Lane, you all still use that?
We do, maybe once a year. We'll go out there and do some rope training off of it, but it's so far out for us, we have to take a truck out of service to go out there and do that training, or bring additional staff in while they're out there, because we would have such a long response time to come from there. But we do get credit for that training tower still in our ISO credits.
Okay. Are y'all familiar, Betty, familiar with that, what I'm talking about? We set up a training center out there, but 8 years ago, probably. Probably 10 years ago, probably.
On Sutherland Lane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So where is it back there?
About halfway between the sewage treatment plant.
Okay.
On the right.
You can't miss it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I hadn't heard you mention much about that lately. So
I didn't know we would have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use the training containers at our Station 1 location more than we use that. But we can still get credit for it on our ISO.
Okay, well, anytime you get a credit, leave that.
That's right.
Okay, well, thanks, Todd, for your updates.
You're welcome.
Betty, you had an issue with some.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a message from him. I've talked to Chief Kresick about this already. Can't find it, but someone who I guess drops kids off for school or whatever said that there's an issue with kids crossing from West Stephen Foster, from 5th Street coming across West Stephen Foster, whether they're going to Bardstown schools or St. Joe in the mornings and the afternoons.
That's my route.
Is it?
I travel that route every day.
Yeah.
I was coming home the other day and talking to Chief Kresick while I was in the middle of that route.
Of course, they wanted us to station a police officer there every morning and every afternoon, but we just don't have the manpower to do that.
Well, from 3 o'clock to 4:30 probably, when everybody's getting off, coming to school, getting out, in and out, back and forth. If we had a police officer, we didn't have a police officer there, they're still not gonna change that traffic flow. Because like I say, I'm in it every day. When I get out of school, I come down 5th Street to Stephen Foster, turn left and go down and come home.
I don't think they were wanting the traffic control. I think they were worried about maybe kids kind of playing around while they're waiting at the red light and not paying attention, or somebody turning right on a red light and not seeing the kid standing there. You know, there's
I don't know how you could I don't know how you can get around that. I mean, because I see them every day too. It's not as many as it's not like letting recess out or everybody's kids going through there. There might be one here, two there, one here, and of course people are turning right. There's a backup when you're going west on Stephen Foster. If people want to turn on Cathedral Manor, there's always a backup there. Right. All backed up all the way to the light more times than not.
We've reached out to both schools. Both schools said that it's not an issue for them. Okay. We did have officers for several days monitor the morning and afternoon when the kids were out, and they did not see anything that was anything of concern while they were there. It is a school zone. The circle slows cars down as they're coming around the circle, around the square. You've got the flashing lights, you've got the red light, you've got stop signs. So you have all those natural barriers to slow that traffic down, plus the crosswalk. So if there's any future issues or anything that's observed, we would be back in contact with the principals of the schools because they could adjust if they allow walkers or need to put them on buses to make sure they don't have to cross the road. But they didn't seem to find it to be a problem.
Okay.
But they're also aware of it, that we've reached out to both schools.
Okay, thank you.
Well, when that roundabout gets put in place too, I think that'll eliminate some of that too.
Yeah,
On
31E.
Yeah.
So did you check with Bardstown and St. Joe? Is that who you checked with?
St. Joe's and Bethlehem.
St. Joe, Bethel, okay. I'll let him know that, thank you.
And then Bardstown through Councilman Shekels.
Okay.
Through me, in the traffic.
In the middle of Fifth and Stephen Foster.
Thank you for doing that.
But you know, as time allows, they know that's an area to just kind of monitor. If they're not on a run, they can't be stationed there, but they do monitor that, and we do have people just, you know, officers
Sure.
going through there in the mornings and the afternoons
Okay,
when available.
Thank you.
Okay, Betty, also you wanted to mention about this a Narcan vending machine.
Yes.
Narcan, excuse me, not Narcan.
You brought this up at the end of one of our meetings,
Yeah.
2 meetings ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Jennifer Osborne, if I can from District Health Department. And she and I met with Chief Cressig and Todd and Raymond Pinaroa on Monday. Just take one breathe and pass it down about it. So I would just think it's something I'd like to see our community look into.
Well, what brought to my attention, we were at KLC, the conference, I think we went to several sessions on opioid clinic,
Right.
And I was with a council person from Vine Grove.
Were you?
They were talking about this Narcan vending machine. They
Yeah.
had just implemented it that week that we were at KLC.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so there's a link there, and there's information, and there's what the machine looks like. It looks like your standard vending machine. And then I also included the stats that Delcare tracks as far as the number of Narcans that they distribute at their needle exchange, which they do every Thursday. So like in October, they distributed 15 Narcans and reported that 2 of them were used. And as you can see, those numbers kind of fluctuate some. But one of the good things about the Narcan vending machine is it's available all of the time. Now Medica has Narcan that they distribute, but of course you have to meet their schedule, to get some. So if we were able to get a vending machine, it would be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now obviously if somebody overdoses, you can't say, hold on, I need to go to the vending machine and get some Narcan. But it's a way for people to keep it on hand should they need it, whether for themselves or a family member or a friend. I carry some in my car just because I've, gotten so involved in the opioid problem. So I would just like to see us look into it some more. Jennifer says that in Vine Grove, was it 169 Narcans were taken out of the machine in 26 days. And they have a camera on theirs, and theirs is outside the police station, which she didn't think was a good idea, but it turns out it was. And they have a camera, so they just kind of monitor if it's the same people replenishing or if it's different people. And she said that they report it's different people. Of course, the number is probably going to be higher in the beginning, but as people kind of have a stash of it, so to speak, then that might slow down a little bit. So the challenges are, where do we put it? And who will take care of stocking it? Jennifer said she can find us a grant to pay for the machine itself.
Well, do all your officers carry?
We do, yes, it's a mandatory program that I implemented when I was here. So all officers are trained and carry Narcan as well as the fire department and EMS. Mm-hmm.
So who funds your supply? Does that come out of your budgets that you use?
We typically the PATH Coalition gives us the money, or the health department.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the city.
So it's not, the city's not paying for that.
Yeah, okay, so, and it's pretty much as much as you want or as much as you need?
Mm-hmm. They keep us stocked with it.
Oh, okay.
And I think, Betty, didn't she say people could get it at pharmacies?
I know Medica carries it, is what Jennifer told us.
without a prescription.
Without a prescription, you can just walk in, they don't charge anything, you can just walk in and get it.
Oh,
Yeah,
the COVID kids,
like what?
like the COVID kids.
Yeah, yeah. So they have it, but, maybe everybody doesn't know that, or again, they're not always open, you don't expect them to be, of course. So the more, we can do to save lives, we lost 20 Nelson Countyans to overdose last year. And Jennifer warned me that we would get some pushback, and I've already had a little pushback from a Facebook page. Somebody posted our agenda on a neighborhood group, which is perfectly fine. And somebody commented on it that we're enabling people, and I understand that thought process because I had the same one when I first learned that we did a needle exchange. But then once I learned the purpose of it, and that we're not enabling them, we're just keeping them safe. So this is another step to doing that.
What do you think, chiefs? Two chiefs?
I thought a good location for it would be the actual health department where they do the needle exchange, where that you have individuals coming there that have addiction problems. I know, Vine Grove thinks it's been successful there. Vine Grove's very small population-wise. Just talking to some officers that have had addiction issues within their families, they did not believe that they didn't believe that their family members would have come to a police station to get that. Maybe family members, but the actual person that's addicted to it would be a little hesitant to come to the PD for that. But I'm not saying that it's not needed somewhere. I just don't know what that perfect location would be that would be convenient, and they would actually feel comfortable going to it.
And, one thing that I thought too, if you locate it, because we briefly talked about farmer's market, but, my first thought was, then is that going to increase the number of people that are hanging out there? We already have an issue with the homeless hanging out there, but Vine Grove says people don't hang out when they come and get it. They get it and, they leave. So that probably wouldn't be an issue depending on, anywhere where we put it. I have a couple of ideas, but I guess if we think that it's a good idea as a committee, then I'd like to talk to the mayor about the locations.
I think it has to be refrigerated, right?
The machine does.
Oh, the machine does.
Has to be machine.
Yeah.
But I think it's an excellent idea because, most of it is family that's going because they want to keep their loved ones alive. And, it severely suppresses the respiratory system. And usually when we arrive on scene, they're only breathing a couple times a minute. So anytime they can induce that Narcan early, they've increased their survivability or even brain damage at that point because the oxygen's not getting to the brain.
I had a young man reach out to me several weeks ago about nail care, just wanting to learn about nail care. And so I solicited his opinion today on the Narcan vending machines. And he, of course, loved the idea. He had his brother overdose on his couch at his home with his little boy present. And he said if I hadn't had Narcan with me, didn't have some on hand, he said my brother would have died. He said he had already turned blue and, but he said thankfully I had the wherewithal to keep it with me, knowing that my brother was going to be in my home. So.
Well, it's
And it's only effective on opioids, correct? It's not effective on meth, is that right?
That's right, it's only on opioids. It would hurt you if you used it on somebody that was using meth. It's not gonna be effective and it's not gonna work, but it would not be harmful if you used it on somebody that wasn't using an opioid.
It would not be harmful?
It would not be harmful.
Okay.
So enlighten me a little bit when you said that, I didn't understand. So the only time this Narcan is effective is if it's
On an opioid.
like if it's heroin or
pain pills.
Pain pills, an opiate derivative, because it blocks that receptors in the brain that where they're, it's like completely stops that and brings them back like it's their breathing. But if they're doing meth or something else and they've overdosed on another drug and you use it, it's not gonna harm them, but it won't work. Only on the opioid drugs.
I learned something new tonight. I didn't know that. I just thought on the email. I guess that's what you overdose on opiates, I guess.
Well, yes,
You're not gonna be on meth or pot or anything like that.
unless it's laced with some fentanyl and.
It'll
There are
work on
vending
fentanyl.
machines out there, but Jennifer is not recommending them to us at this time. I think there's one in Cincinnati that dispenses fentanyl strips, it dispenses condoms. There's, with several different things that you can put in that machine.
You get grants for those too?
Please?
You can get grants for those too?
I don't know.
Because fentanyl is like a very potent synthetic opioid.
Okay, well, that's, I learned something new tonight.
So, do we want to think about it some more? Do you think I should talk to the mayor?
I think if we were able to get a grant or something written to get one of these machines, I think we should go ahead and get it, or start the wheels in the process of getting it. We'll find a place to put it.
Right.
And there's only one right now in the state of Kentucky.
Right.
It's in Vine Grove?
Mhm.
In Vine Grove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has only been there, what, a couple months probably?
No, I forget where we are in the category, like I went to that Kentucky opioid abatement thing in Louisville a couple weeks ago. Nelson County's pretty high up there in comparison to other counties in the state of the opioid problem and the number of deaths.
Well, if we were fortunate enough to be able to apply for a grant, and you got a good work relationship with Jennifer, I would go ahead and try to put the wheels in motion to get us one.
Okay.
And if we can get one, get it stocked, and we'll find a place.
Like I said, we need to find a location, and then we need to figure out who's responsible for keeping it stocked. So, two just very small things we can work out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get Jennifer working on it.
You build it and we'll come. I said, build the dream, you build it, that come. Well, being this is a special meeting, then we're restricted to items that are on the agenda. So is there anything else anyone would want to reflect back on what we had on the agenda tonight, the Pebble Company or bar department updates or anything? Everybody good to go?
Yes, sir.
Well, we can adjourn this meeting then.
Make a motion for adjournment?
Would you like to? Chief Crescent makes a motion to adjourn, and Councilwoman Hart seconds it.
So our next meeting is December the 8th, correct?
Yeah, I'd like to, hopefully we can chit chat a little bit more about this pedal company. And maybe get together with you, Chief, and Greg, and maybe Gary, and Audrey, put them all together maybe, and just talk about if we want to go that route, the ordinance. My whole issue with this is number one, the safety, because we have such a limited space that we can operate these things. And Greg made the perfect analysis of not being able to block the streets.
Okay.
And we're on the main, 3rd Street, Stephen Foster, they're all state highways. And like I say, 2 blocks either way you go, you're gonna be in a residential area.
Parking is at a premium.
And then just the safety, if you have if the kids on there or younger people, and then they stop and let them off, just trying to make sure nobody gets out into the traffic with being a state highway would be a traffic and safety concern.
Do that in the Burke area. Maybe they need to consider for every 3 children there needs to be an adult, or something. I don't know, something like that.
And Jonesy also has a dedicated lot where people board and get on and off of his carriage.
That's true.
Because even if the county allowed you to come on there, that's not a safe way to get in and out, because people, especially if you're not from to town, they struggle with the
And if
roundabout.
they were gonna unload at the visitor center, that's really no closer than farmer's market.
I have to interrupt you because
The
technically
meeting's
during
over,
the
meeting's
meeting.
over, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can't have a meeting after the meeting, yeah.
Sure we can.
Didn't make any decisions or anything.
Sure.
Did we all say aye?
Thank you, Karen.
We have discussion on, we're in discussion phase. But anyway, thank y'all for coming, I appreciate everybody's input.
Don't forget your little thing over here.
That's actually not the first time I've heard the phrase, the meeting after the meeting.